Hey there! Do you happen to have some selvage scraps, some batting scraps, and would be interested in making a boxed mini zipper pouch? Well, this two-part video series will be perfect for you. Let's get started with this first video where I'll show you how to quilt as you go and just use these up really quickly. And look for my next video where I teach you how to use this quilted panel or any quilted panel to make this mini box zipper pouch with lining. Let's get started. Have you ever found yourself admiring quilts made solely from fabric selvage edges? These projects are such a milestone, capturing all the fabrics and prints you've used over time. And if you're anything like me, you might have just started a selvage stash and don't have enough for a full quilt yet, but you're eager to create something with them already. I'm going to show you how to use these strips to quilt as you go directly onto batting and make the outer panels for a mini zipper pouch. You will need two 8-inch by 7-inch pieces of batting that will trim down to 7 inches by 6 inches. This is perfect for batting scraps, and I've pieced mine together using my smallest pieces for this project. First, let's organize our selvage strips by length into 3 piles. The first pile will have the shortest that are at least 2 inches long for corners. The second pile would have strips that can cover the diagonal length of the batting rectangle, and the third one would just have pieces that fall in between those 2 piles. Let's get started. Before we take this to the sewing machine, I want you to know that if you prefer to trim the fringe off or the really small fibers, that's totally fine. I'm personally going to keep mine, but when I align my edges of fabric for the 1/4 inch seam, I will not count the small pieces of fringe fibers into my 1/4 inch seam. I'll be going by the firm edges of fabric. Alright, we're at the sewing machine and we're going to start with one corner, pretty much just sewing the first piece, which is a short one, onto the batting right side up, making sure that it covers the corner with room to trim. Sew this on with 1/8 of an inch seam. And while you watch me do that, I want to make sure you know that we're just sewing this straight onto the batting. I do not have any backing to the back side of the batting because when we go to make our zipper pouches, we will have a lining to it, and so you will not even see the back side of the batting. So here I am trimming those pieces off. Alright, here I am preparing for the next piece of fabric, and to ensure that it's going to be a good fit, I'm going to place it right sides together with the previous piece of fabric on the edge that I sewn and press it down with the tips of my finger to simulate a 1/4 inch seam. And here I am pretending to press it open so that I can imagine the area of batting that it's going to cover, and when I feel secure that it will cover the area, I'm just going to sew that 1/4 inch seam right there, right sides together with the previous piece. And that's just the general rule for every new piece I'm going to add to the batting. After you sew that seam, you can totally take it to the iron and give it a press, but I'm going to finger press it and give it a top stitch 1/8 of an inch away from that seam, and that'll just reinforce that seam and have it open for me. I'm going to do that every time for myself, that way I don't have to get up every time and switch back and forth between the machine and the iron. You can also use a presser roller, but I feel like this is great and it works for me. So you pretty much repeat this process until the entire piece of batting is covered, and if you would like to, trim as you go. And when you reach the center of the diagonal section of this rectangular piece of batting, use your longest strips. They just need to be long enough to cover the length of that diagonal, and I really like using the longest strips so that I can end up just trimming and reusing from that same strip. And just continue drawing from the appropriate piles of selvage until the batting is fully covered. Alright, here are 2 finished panels that I made, and I've trimmed them down to 7 inches by 6 inches, and they are perfect for making mini box zipper pouches. These are the remaining materials you'll need. Check for my next tutorial on how to turn these into mini box zipper pouches, and stay tuned.